let me just put a mirror to you and say, you have been leaning in. You have been leaning into each other and just having conversation at your tables, leaning into the conversation, making amendments to amendments. But we're doing good work, and the Spirit is here. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I want to take a moment of personal privilege to invite my dear sister, Bishop D. Williamston, to join me upstage here. And I want to share the love here of enjoying, of seeing this leaning in of the body. And as Bishop D, I'll introduce her appropriately at the memorial, not memorial.
I think I'm dead already.
Ordination service tonight. So, yeah, if you would. Let's welcome Bishop Williamston. And then the other moment of personal privilege is we did this at the retirement celebration today, but my wife Raddy is here, and it is her 50th birthday today. And so she decided to celebrate it with 270 of her closest friends. Yeah, thank you so much. We're going to head into this section that's going to be a difficult conversation because it will entail the closure of three of our faith communities. One was in your pre-conference handbook, and two were late-breaking petitions that were given to you yesterday, and we'll deal with them now. And to prep this segment, I've started shifting the language in our cabinet. And so when I was a district superintendent started in 2014, and Bishop D and I actually were on the same class of superintendents. We went to charm school together in Lake Junaluska. DSDCM training, for those of you who are technical about it. But I had a colleague, her name is Kara Scriven. She was a district superintendent in the Tacoma district in the Pacific Northwest. And for that first year, she dealt with just a slew of church closures that it sapped her soul. I mean, imagine presiding over church closures. But out of that experience, she developed language that felt more appropriate to the closing of churches. And so instead of closing churches, she called them, so instead of church closures, she called them faithful completions. That as we discontinue the churches, we are celebrating the faithful completion of this faith community's mission in that area. The ministry will continue in a different way because we believe in God's grace and that God's grace is boundless. And so we trust that the ministry will continue in that place, but not in that present form. And so we celebrate the faithful completion of that faith community. And so I want to introduce that as language that we might begin using instead of church closures. We talk about them as faithful completions. And then tomorrow, when we do the memorial service, the first part of our segment, see, that's why I had memorial service in my mind. The first part of the memorial service is a remembrance of these three faith communities that we will act on today. All right? There's a thin line that divides the secular and the sacred. And so as we do our work of business, of administration, we do it in a liturgical way that honors the presence of the divine among us. Diaz Pam, you ready?
I invite you to turn to the pre-conference supplement packet, page 23, S23. This is a resolution for discontinuance or faithful completion of Vista Isleta United Methodist Church in El Paso, Texas. Whereas Vista Isleta United Methodist Church of El Paso, Texas was organized as a congregation in 1923 as Isleta Methodist Episcopal Church South, holding its first service on January 23, 1923 in Ysleta, Texas. The church was enlarged in 1940 and in 1951 moved to 115 Davis Street, adding a fellowship hall and Christian education building. The groundbreaking for a new sanctuary occurred in 1956, and the church resided at the Davis Street location until 1984. On September 14, 1983, a decision was made to move to another East Side location at 11860 Rojas, becoming Vista Isleta United Methodist Church, where it has remained to this date. In 1988, the Bishop's Award for Excellence in Evangelism was granted to the church. Unfortunately, on October 31st, 1989, burglars set fire to the church, causing $400,000 in damage, and a church reconstruction began with the first worship service held in the rebuilt church, occurring on May 21st, 1990. Vista Isleta United Methodist Church has continued a long and faithful history of service to the Lord and its mission field on the east side of El Paso, for which we are grateful. Whereas the Church Conference of Vista Isleta United Methodist Church in El Paso, Texas, voted on May 18, 2025, to discontinue the church. And whereas the members and friends of Vista Isleta United Methodist Church celebrated their life and ministry together on June 8, 2025, during a worship service disbanding the congregation, and will go on to serve the Lord in other parts of God's kingdom here on earth. And whereas the consent to discontinue and observe faithful completion has been granted by Bishop Carlo A. Rapanute, the Albuquerque and El Paso District Superintendents, and the El Paso District Board of Church Location and Building, and all proper disciplinary requirements have been complied with. And whereas the local church property will no longer use, keep, or maintain its membership as a place of divine worship after June 8, 2025. Therefore, be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the El Paso District Superintendent, the New Mexico Annual Conference declares Vista Isleta United Methodist Church closed on June 8, 2025, pursuant to paragraph 2549.1.b of the Book of Discipline of the United Methodist Church 2020/2024, and that on June 8, 2025, the New Mexico Annual Conference Board of Trustees assumes control of the real and personal, tangible and intangible property, and any and all other assets, both present and future, of Vista Isleta United Methodist Church of El Paso, Texas. Finally, be it further resolved that the New Mexico Annual Conference Board of Trustees is granted the authority to retain, sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of the property in the best interest of the New Mexico Annual Conference, as stipulated in paragraph 2549.2.c of the Book of Discipline of the United Methodist Church.
All right, this resolution is properly before you from the appointive cabinet of the New Mexico Annual Conference. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Do you mind if I say a little personal note about this church really fast?
Absolutely.
So I am only 19, 20 years old at the moment, and I went to the connecting pre-K to this church, Rainbow School, and that kind of really reminded me of what you said about, will you repeat what you said about the faithful closures? What was the language that you used?
Faithful completion.
Yes, faithful completions, and their mission may have been complete, but the spirit still lives on inside of me and all of my classmates that went to Rainbow School and all of the youth that also attended Isleta. So if you will give a round of applause to this church.
Thank you. Thank you for that testimony. Any others? Are we ready to vote on this? All right, all of you who would approve this resolution, would you please raise your hand? Lower your hands. All those against, same sign. Is there any abstention? All right, it is done. Shall we all say, thank you for your faithful service? Thank you for your faithful service. Amen. Amen.
Yesterday, about 24 hours ago, 2 other resolutions were distributed to you. I invite you to reference the resolution for closure of Grand Falls Union. I also invite you to take a moment to look at the back page, as I will not read that in its entirety, but I invite you now to do so just for a moment or so, and then I'll begin to read the resolution. Whereas Grand Falls United Methodist Church is a community church in which multiple denominations worship together. And whereas there are no longer any members of the United Methodist Church worshiping in the Grand Falls Union United Methodist Church. And whereas the remaining denomination of the community church continue to worship in the church building, but are not United Methodist. And whereas the Book of Discipline of the United Methodist Church 2020-24 discipline provides for the closure of a local church under the provisions of paragraph 2549.1, parenthesis B. And whereas Bishop Carlo A. Rappanute, presiding bishop of the New Mexico Annual Conference, and the district superintendents of the New Mexico Conference of the United Methodist Church voted to close Grand Falls Union Church, a United Methodist congregation of the New Mexico Conference of the United Methodist Church in Grand Falls, Texas, due to circumstances under the provision of paragraph 2549.1, parenthesis B, specifically for the reason that the local church property is no longer used, kept, or maintained by its membership as a place of divine worship of the United Methodist Church. And whereas the El Paso District Board of Church Location and Building consented on June 16, 2025, and declares that there are no longer members of the United Methodist Church worshiping in this church, and, quote, that the local church property is no longer used, kept, or maintained by its membership as a place of divine worship of the United Methodist Church. And whereas the local church property will no longer be used, kept, or maintained by its membership as a place of divine worship of the United Methodist Church after June 16, 2025. And whereas Bishop Carlo A. Rappanute and the El Paso District Superintendent and the Albuquerque District Superintendent of the New Mexico Conference of the United Methodist Church and the El Paso District Board of Church Location and Building consented on June 16, 2025, under the provision of paragraph 2548.1, to deed church property to a federated church, namely one of the remaining denominations.
All right, and then there's that whole section of sort of the finer details of this resolution. This is properly before us from the appointive cabinet. It doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion? Are we ready to vote? All of you who would approve this resolution, would you please lift a hand? Lower your hands. Anyone against? Please do the same. Any abstentions? The resolution carries. Thank you so much. And would we say, please, thank you for your faithful service.
Thank you for your faithful service.
Amen.
I now present the resolution for closure or faithful completion of the Bridge United Methodist Church in Odessa, Texas. Whereas the Book of Discipline of the United Methodist Church 2020/2024 provides for the closure of a local church under the provisions of paragraph 2549.4 parenthesis B, and whereas Bishop Carlo A. Rappanute, presiding bishop of the New Mexico Conference, and the district superintendents of the New Mexico Conference of the United Methodist Church voted to close the Bridge United Methodist Church, a United Methodist congregation of the New Mexico Conference of the United Methodist Church in Odessa, Texas, due to exigent circumstances under the provision of paragraph 2549.4 parenthesis B, specifically for the reason that the local church property is no longer used, kept, or maintained by its membership as a place of divine worship of the United Methodist Church. And whereas the El Paso District Board of Church Location and Building consented on June 9th, 2025, and declares that the local church property is no longer used, kept, or maintained by its membership as a place of divine worship of the United Methodist Church, and that these circumstances require immediate protection of the local church's property for the benefit of the denomination. And whereas the local church property will no longer be used, kept, or maintained by its membership as a place of divine worship after June 9th, 2025. Therefore, be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the El Paso District Superintendent and the Albuquerque District Superintendent of the New Mexico Conference of the United Methodist Church and Bishop Carlo A. Rappanute, we declare the Bridge United Methodist Church closed on June 9th, 2025, pursuant to paragraph 2549.4 parenthesis B of the Book of Discipline of the United Methodist Church 2020, there is a misprint there, I apologize, /2024, and that on June 9th, 2025, the New Mexico Annual Conference Board of Trustees assumes control of the real and personal, tangible and intangible property and any and all other assets, both present and future, of the Bridge United Methodist Church of Odessa, Texas, with the Book of Discipline reference. Finally, be it further resolved that the New Mexico Annual Conference Board of Trustees is granted the authority to retain, sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of the property in the best interest of the New Mexico Annual Conference as stipulated in paragraph 2549.2 parenthesis C of the Book of Discipline of the United Methodist Church 2020-2024.
Thank you, Pam. This is properly before us from the appointive cabinet. Is there any discussion or question? Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Microphone 4. 3, 4? Yeah, go ahead.
This microphone.
Yes, yes. Wherever you are is where you need to be.
That's it. I wanted to ask for a moment of personal privilege after this resolution is voted on.
Okay, okay. She just reserved her ticket. I don't think anyone needs to take the floor, wants to take the floor now, so I think we're ready to vote. All those of you who would approve this resolution, would you please lift a hand? Lower your hands. All those against, same sign. Any abstentions? It's done. All right, let's.
I am Linda Nash from First Los Alamos, and endings are hard, and just having voted on the faithful completion of 3 United Methodist churches, I wanted to give some hope for resurrection, and that is in Raton. The Presbyterian Church completed its faithful mission through the presbytery, and their mission continues through Raton. It's First, right? First Raton United Methodist Church. So they live on.
Thank you. Thank you for that witness. Yes. We are Easter people, friends, and out of death comes resurrection. But we got to go through Friday, remember that. And especially on this last one, we will go through Friday. And it's going to be hard work for us, for our chancellor, for our board of trustees. And this is an important step in a process that will hopefully allow us to do ministry in new ways in these places where we are discontinuing. We are celebrating the faithful completion of United Methodist ministry there as they are currently configured. So thank you, Pam, and thank you to the appointive cabinet for this good hard work on our behalf, and the district boards of church location and building, and the trustees and our conference chancellor. The number of emails and Zoom calls and phone calls that we had to come to this point, and for you to affirm this faithful work is heartwarming. So thank you so much for leaning into that. All right? Thank you. We are a huge worldwide denomination. Amen? And there was that John Jay video. Come on up. John Jay video a number of years ago. I may have to look that up, when he was in the bar and they asked him, what do you do? And so, well, I'm a pastor isn't really, sexy enough. so he said, I'm a representative of a worldwide enterprise. We have, and anyway, I'll look for that video and show it to you. But let's celebrate and welcome to us David McCormick of the General Board of Global Ministries, who's going to bring us a report of our good work together as a denomination.
Greetings, friends. Thank you, bishops, conference staff, and delegates of the New Mexico Annual Conference for allowing me to share with you today. It is a joy to be with you. My name is David McCormick, and I serve as your mission engagement liaison with the General Board of Global Ministries. And Global Ministries is the mission and humanitarian response arm of the United Methodist Church. I bring you greetings from our General Secretary, Roland Fernandez, our staff, and the more than 200 United Methodist missionaries serving around the world. In 2024, Global Ministries and the General Board of Higher Education and Ministry entered into an intentional partnership to align and integrate the work of both agencies. Roland Fernandez now serves as the General Secretary for both boards. 7 staff positions serve across both agencies, helping to maximize effectiveness and steward resources wisely. But this is not just a structural change. It's a strategic response to the global nature of our church and the interconnectedness of mission, education, and ministry. Our goal is a unified presence and integrated structure across the regions of the world. This collaboration lifts up the shared priorities that reflect the church's call to form disciples and engage in mission through justice, education, and compassion. The Board of Higher Education's 2 priority areas are developing transformational leaders and connecting the church and the academy. And I believe there are slides that go along with this too. So with developing transformational leaders, it includes overseeing the credentialing process for clergy, such as candidacy, licensing, ordination, and continuing education. A critical part of this work is the course of study school for licensed local pastors. Since 2020, 14 local pastors from this New Mexico Annual Conference have completed a combined total of 60 course of study classes. In addition, 6 students have completed 22 advanced course of study classes. We're grateful for the partnerships in New Mexico and celebrate how our local pastors are leaning in to serving their churches. One of GBHEM's strategic objectives is to provide equitable access to education, and to that end, we're launching a comprehensive review of the course of study to ensure that the curriculum addresses today's realities and the church's evolving need for strong and diverse leadership. Local pastors provide vital leadership in this church, and we want to ensure they are equipped, supported, and empowered for the work before them. The other priority is connecting the church and the academy. We're deeply committed to making access to education possible through scholarship support for college and seminary students. Since 2017, more than $29 million has been awarded to over 15,000 students worldwide to help them pursue their educational dreams. This includes $6.4 million to historical Black colleges and universities. During the past school year, I'm happy to share there were 4 college and seminary students from New Mexico who received over $7,400 in scholarships. These students are Isaac Kramer, Jackie Lax, and Sarah Salazar. So thank you for letting your students know about these scholarships and through GBHEM. The Reverend Jackie Lax shared this thought on the scholarship awarding. Reverend Lax says, "My degree program requires a hands-on intensive ministry. These funds will be used for these expenses for spring and summer of 2025 to fulfill those requirements. I know that having the opportunity to be the hands and feet of Jesus to others who are less fortunate will not only be a blessing to those receiving it, but also to me. God bless you for this generous scholarship." In addition to the ongoing ministerial education fund support of the 13 United Methodist seminaries, at our spring board meeting, the board of directors approved a one-time subsidy of $400,000 to provide additional support to our seminaries in these challenging times. All 13 schools have already received these funds to use for seminary, course of study, and support of United Methodist students. Your gifts, your offerings to the Ministerial Education Fund make a real difference in students' lives. By aligning ministry and mission, education and evangelism, clergy formation and community development, we are equipping leaders who are spiritually grounded, contextually aware, and missionally engaged. Now, at the Board of Global Ministries, our 2 core priorities are connecting the church and mission and alleviating human suffering. With connecting the church, it's building relationships that witness to God's presence across the globe. We send missionaries and resource annual conferences to reach the neighbors God has called them to love. Your conference and churches play a vital role in sharing the stories of these missionaries and bearing witness to how God is at work around the world. Because when you support a missionary, you're ensuring that their story is shared. With alleviating human suffering, through global health grants and hunger response programs like the Yambasu Agricultural Initiative, we seek to fill critical wellness gaps left by the USAID funding cuts. As United Methodists, through UMCOR, we responded to disasters, both natural and human-made, such as wildfires in New Mexico and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and beyond. As John Wesley says, do all the good you can by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can. So let us celebrate the good that has been made possible through our United Methodist connection in 2024. There were 37 new faith communities launched in the Central African Republic, 164 faith communities supported in Laos, Mongolia, Vietnam, and Honduras. And this is how we grow the church, right? Over 300 nationals in mission leading ministry in their local context. 48 new missionaries were commissioned into service. 43 grants to support racial, ethnic faith communities and new church starts. Over 1 million people reached through health and sanitation grants. And over 137 humanitarian responses coordinated through UMCOR. This is how your United Methodist Church leaned in and lived out to engage in mission. It is the church in action, and it is sacred work. Together, these shared commitments equip the church to be courageous, connected, and compassionate witnesses in the world, formed by faith and sent in love. As we face compounding global and church-wide challenges, we return to the heart of our baptismal vows. to resist evil, injustice, and oppression in whatever forms they present themselves. In this season of challenge and change, I invite you to deepen your commitment, to lean in, not from a place of fear, but from a place of hope and God's redeeming love. Let us continue to befriend our neighbors and to defend the marginalized and to upend the systems that no longer serve the common good. Through partnering with Global Ministries, there's some great opportunities to connect with your community and empower your churches. And here are just a few ways you can lean into serving your congregation and community. Migration response. The Mustard Seed Migration Grant Program encourages local United Methodist churches to engage in ministry to migrants. UMCOR awards grants of up to $2,000 to UMC churches in the United States for new, one-time, community-based service projects focused on migrants and refugees. Creation Care with Earthkeepers Training, a training and incubator program providing a collaborative space for United Methodists to develop and grow environmental projects. Topics include eco-theology, anti-racism, community organizing, project planning, and the next training is October 2nd through 5th in Washington State. And this conference has Earthkeepers right here and right now. And so if you'll raise your hand if you're an Earthkeeper, you can talk to these people if you have questions. Thank you. Support a missionary. Covenant relationships offer spiritual, emotional, and missional and financial support between missionaries and churches. If you feel called in the missionary service, either internationally or domestically, connect with me. I would love to walk with you in this journey of discernment. You can get early response team trained. Be prepared to volunteer after a disaster in your community or the wider jurisdiction. And your conference disaster response team can help you get connected and trained for that. Or support a local mission like Lydia Patterson Institute or McCurdy Ministries with your donations and your time. Or start something new in your community. Where is it that there's not only a need, but also a readiness in your community? Where are the gifts, the passions, and the relationships that already exist? Where can we lean in and begin something truly meaningful? If you have a dream, a question, a calling, reach out to me or to Reverend Andy Stoker, your conference secretary of Global Ministries and missional resource in the New Mexico Annual Conference. We can connect you with a mission already underway or walk with you as you develop your passion. Andy and I are here to support you. As leaders and as the missional heartbeat of your congregation and conference, it comes down to you. We want to come alongside the spaces where God is at work and help you live more broadly into that call. Visit our website, umcmission.org, to learn how Global Ministries can partner with you. Let us never tire of doing good. By leaning into our callings, we can live out making disciples of Christ for the transformation of the world. And finally, I ask you to support the work of Global Ministries and UMCOR financially through the Advance. This designated giving platform ensures 100% of your gift goes to the project you choose. Your giving fuels this compassion, and your generosity saves lives. So friends, thank you for your time today and for the many ways you live out as the body of Christ, sharing God's love in the world. May God continue to soften our hearts to see the suffering among us and give us courage to respond with mercy, justice, and love. And may it be all for God's glory. Bishop, this concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Shall we show our appreciation to David? And if any of what he presented struck a chord in you, reach out to him. Reach out to Reverend Andy Stoker, or reach out to us, your leaders, and we'll make sure to get you connected so that we might support this global work. Another one of our partners in ministry is the Texas Methodist Foundation, and we welcome to the platform our dear friend, my dear friend, Tom Stanton.
Thank you. What a joy to be here with you. Friends, do you know that beautiful passage in Deuteronomy that begins with, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one." And it's recited again, as you all have preached about, by our Lord Jesus in Mark and in Luke. But those next lines are really powerful. "Take these things into your heart and teach them to your children." Friends, I was married at First Church, Albuquerque. It's in my heart. My father-in-law served this church. St. John's is in my heart. For 20 years, I was at Lydia Patterson as the pro bono attorney. It's in my heart. As chancellor for a decade here, I got to work with so many of you in the churches. You all are in my heart. And at the Texas Methodist Foundation, there hasn't been a day that's gone by that you haven't been in my heart. We get to do some really, really cool things. One of them is we stole from this conference Maggie Johnson, who works for us and is a kind of a rock star. And, yeah. She's brilliant. And as you may know, Maggie's not shy. And she keeps this wonderful conference really front and center in so many discussions. Thank you, Maggie. Pamela Gray is here with us. Pamela is an absolute brilliant facilitator about deep conversations about telling the next generation of the wonderful things God has done. We call that legacy giving. Pamela, would you raise your hand or say hello? I have been with her while she just lights up the room as she talks about things that I had never thought about how to do. Friends, we have a grants ministry. Wendell and Abel is the director of grants. And my goal in the coming decade is that we double it or triple it, but we get to walk alongside ministries here, McCurdy, Lydia Patterson, the food pantries, other ministries throughout the conference, and we get to do that because we love this conference and people like you all at your churches believe in us, entrust your funds to us and investments, and get to be a part of a real new dimension of connectionalism that is in addition to, not in place of, our wonderful clergy connectional system that you all represent. I'll leave you with this, friends. In my work at TMF, you all are in my heart, and we get to walk alongside you. And we will do it with joy. We will learn from you, and we'll always, always be grateful to you. Friends, as a trial lawyer in El Paso for 27 years, I got to sue some banks and defend some banks. And you know what? We get to do some things on church loans that banks never get to do, and it's pretty cool. And it gives you all space to do your ministry that God has called you in each of these communities to do. So I encourage you to check us out and know that we will learn from you and grow because of our partnership. This conference sent me out in ministry work and mission work in Africa for about 21 years that I've been able to go in and out every year, taking people from this conference with me. And they have this beautiful phrase when they greet you, Axante, Axante, Axante. It means thank you, thank you, thank you. Just know that we're so grateful to be in relationship with you. Thank you, bishops.
Thank you, Tom. Welcome back home. And if you have any questions, if this presentation piqued your interest, talk to any of our TMF staff. I'm sure they'll be happy to have a conversation with you. All right, we're doing good work, friends. Ready to do some votes and rule changes again? Let's call on Reverend Dustin Burrow to lead us in this next section.
Come on up, John.
Oh, yeah, you too, John.
I have something for him to do here in a second. There we go. Good afternoon, Bishop Carlo, members and guests of the annual conference. My name is Dustin Burrow, and I'm the pastor of Trinity United Methodist Church in Clovis, and I'm the chair of your Conference Endowment Distribution Committee. I bring you greetings on behalf of the committee, and it is a joy to share just a glimpse of the incredible ministries and missions that we were privileged to support this past year. Thanks to your faithful giving and the creativity of your churches, we helped fund high school lunch programs, ID clinics, clothing banks, after-school programs, soup kitchens, backpack food ministries. This notebook is full of 40 applications that came from local churches in this annual conference. It's as thick as it is full, and we went through every single one of these things. We supported soup kitchen, backpack food ministries, food pantries, dementia support groups for seniors, women's retreats, children's art programs, tutoring ministries, and efforts to ensure that all youth and young adults feel welcomed and valued. In fact, tutoring has been one of the most impactful areas of outreach that we've seen. And so before I continue, I'd like to invite the Reverend John Kunsel, full elder, to share a brief report on the tutoring program that First United Methodist Church Albuquerque is doing and what it's meant for their church and their community. John?
Thank you, Dustin. I see the pace of this report is going to go very quick, so I'll try to uphold that. Bishop, Cabinet, New Mexico Annual Conference guests, Bishop, I am one of the dearly departed you will be helping to memorialize this evening. I told you during the Collaborating for Connection to Community that I had another story to tell and it would wait for another time. Well, the time is now. 2 years ago, shortly after arriving at First United Methodist Church in Albuquerque, the laity came to me, a lay member, came to me with the idea of joining in a tutoring program. The tutoring program was at Longfellow Elementary School, and First Presbyterian Church was doing it. And I said, well, how dare they? To do it in isolation without First United Methodist Church, because we were here first in 1880, so we should be a part of anything that's going on in downtown. And they said, okay, so we joined up with them in that tutoring program of second and third graders. Then the new administration came in and shut everything down because they did not like the program. We were devastated. But in that setting, when we had recruited for tutors for that school, we ended up with so many tutors from First United Methodist Church, 2 of them who are your lay members here at annual conference. They showed up and we had to go find another elementary school. So this first picture, that's the front of Eugene Field Elementary in the downtown area. So we continued the tutoring program. With so much interest in the school, we decided that maybe we could adopt the entire school. We were very unsure of what that meant, but we liked the idea. Because of our presence there, the second picture will show you the 2 different ministries that began to reach out to us were Exile Ministry with Reverend Todd Seelau and the Ministry of Gather with our own Gil Flores, who's around here somewhere always. They began providing weekend meals for the students, and so we began sending them home with food every weekend. The third picture, well, it's a school, so we did a school supply drive because that's what churches do really well. We bless backpacks and we give them school supplies, so we did that. We continued. In picture 4, you will see that we decided to partner up with them on a food distribution, a free grocery store once a month. Not our idea. We just jumped on board with Roadrunner Food Bank and the Downtown Collaborative Elementary School Coalition that was there. Once we adopted the school, our local aspiring angels, that's our United Women of Faith, next picture, they did a hats, gloves, scarves drive. And so we were yet in the school again. They keep inviting us back. In picture number 6, it was the Fruitfulness Project for my ordination project. We had a free grocery store, but all the kids were there to do is act as grocery sacks and mules to carry everything. So we set up a table for them to give them their own agency where they were allowed to do their own shopping for 4 months of this program, and it was an incredible interaction with the kids. Then we got involved with the partnership in the New Mexico Annual Conference of the Endowment Committee. Picture 7, we began to support the neighborhood, and after 2 years of hard work, we invited them over to our place. Longfellow Elementary, Eugene Field Elementary, Lew Wallace Elementary, Washington Middle School, Amyville Charter School, and Albuquerque High School all were invited, and many came into our building for an art gala that we had, similar to what is here at St. John's and St. Stephen's, but I liked ours better. So in picture 8, this next picture, it was communication back from the school to the church. And since this was done in partnership with the New Mexico Endowment annual conference endowment, these thank you cards are also addressed to you. Thank you, church. Number 9, that next picture, we met with them, and this was the tutoring that goes on. Eugene Feld Elementary had an incredible rate of return on those kids who were tutored. Their testing scores from the beginning of the year to the end of the year were phenomenal. And that is due to the hard work of our tutors, and I thank them for that, and I thank our laity for their insistence upon it. Our last picture just shows that we are invited regularly into the school. We actually have a seat at the table and are part of those conversations of what we can do. And if any one of those links doesn't happen, it all falls apart. So thank you. Thank you to the Endowment Committee for your trust in us. Thank you to the annual conference for your support in us. And after 2 years, it may seem like a long game, but really, we're just getting started because we'd like to invest now for the future and hope you do the same through the New Mexico Annual Conference Endowment Committee. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Kunsel. There are so many cool things that are going on in this annual conference that the Endowment Distribution Committee has been able to give some money to. In addition to the tutoring, we funded seed money for retreats and camps, offered snacks for children, resourced homeless ministries, and even a pet food ministry. We matched grants for churches that are updating their sanctuary technology, helped launch new worship services, and supported food ministries for college students. As part of our work, last September, our committee decided to try something new, and we met for 4 days as a retreat. Every grant application was given a full 20-minute Zoom interview. We spent our time in between interviews praying and discussing and discerning what God is calling our churches to do and how we can help fund while being good stewards of the funds that our saints have contributed to. We were especially encouraged by the lay-led and lay-involved programs, and we do our due diligence as we go through these applications. We check with Griselda, the conference statistician, to confirm regular tithe participation, and we also check with Anna Marshall to ensure churches are current or making efforts to repay any arrearages owed in their pension and health benefits. Without participating in those things, the endowment committee doesn't support. If you're not paying into the program and supporting the annual conference in the church, we have a hard time being a good steward of these funds. And so we want to encourage you to support the tithe model, support your pension and health benefits expectations as well. So this year, our entire application process will be conducted online. There will be links that will be available on the conference website on or before July 1st. We will hold 2 webinars like we did last year, so you can ask any questions and clarify anything about the process. And so I want you to mark your calendars for these dates. If you received funds in 2024, your report is due to us on July 1st. If you haven't received a link to upload that report, please catch me either this evening or tomorrow morning. Applications for 2025 funding will be open on July 1st. They'll run through August 15th, and these will be information updated to the New Mexico Annual Conference website, and the applications, again, will remain open through August 15th. The rest of the report you can find on page 11 of your pre-conference journal, and we are so grateful for all the ways you're showing up in your communities, and we're honored to come alongside you in this work. Thank you so much for the ministry that you do. And then finally, so that is my report. I'm sorry? We have not posted the dates for the webinar yet. We're going to work on that, but that'll be on the conference website effective July 1st. Thank you for your question. There is also a resolution. Bishop, would you like me to speak to that while I'm up here? Fantastic.
Well, let's appreciate the report first. Thank you so much.
So the resolution that's before you is on the final page of your pre-conference journal, page 94. And it is, do I need to read the whole resolution or just kind of explain a little bit about it?
You could just explain it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We wanted to expand the endowment committee by 2 seats. Since we had shrunk a district in the last several years, we were afraid that there were too few of people at the table making decisions regarding this funding, especially when some of us on that committee want to be able to file an application and a grant application so that we can participate in this ministry program as well. And so for us to be able to have integrity and to lead this committee with integrity, we're asking for 2 additional seats on this committee so that we can be a people of integrity and be able to be transparent in our work to make sure that it doesn't look like Dustin Burrow is applying for funds and Dustin Burrow is approving his own funds. And so we want to, again, make sure that we spread out that responsibility. And so I invite you to prayerfully consider supporting this resolution.
All right, this is properly before us from the Endowment Committee, and it has passed the muster of the Rules Committee, and I should have said that of every other rules change that has been presented so far. Is there any discussion on this rules change recommendation? Are we ready to vote? All of you who would support this rules change resolution, would you please raise your hand? All right, lower your hands. All against, same sign. Any abstentions? It's done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you, Dustin, and thank you to will the members of the Endowment Committee please stand so that we might acknowledge and recognize you for your good work? All right, thank you.
I promise that there's more than just the 3 of us.
Yeah. All right. Next up is our colleague and friend from Westpath, our Pension and Benefits Board, who is going to make a presentation. It's going to be an abbreviated presentation. Andy already presented a longer segment to the clergy session today. But Andy, welcome.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to speak for you today. My name is Andy Soroka. I am a relationship manager with Westpath. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Westpath, we are a general agency of the United Methodist Church, headquartered in Glenville, Illinois. One of our many functions is to provide retirement benefits to the clergy within the United Methodist Church. And for some conferences, including New Mexico, we provide health care coverage as well through our Health Flex program. As you know, the 2020 General Conference in 2024 passed a new retirement plan for UMC clergy within the United States. That plan is known as Compass. I'm here to introduce a short video that we have put together about the Compass plan. For those of you that have questions after on the plan, I will be here in the back corner for the rest of the day, and I'll stay through the dinner break. As long as there's questions, I will be here. So with that, Bishop.
All right, let's cue the video.
The United Methodist Church is launching a new retirement plan for U.S. clergy, Compass. If you're already retired or retiring in 2025, Compass won't change your benefits. For active clergy, benefits earned through earlier UMC plans remain. Starting January 1, new benefits will be earned through Compass. Compass gives UMC clergy greater flexibility to save for retirement while ensuring meaningful income for both current and future clergy, all in a way that remains affordable for annual contributions.
All right, there you have it. And you heard the invitation if you have any questions. And we found, your bishops have found that if we open it up to plenary for questions, the questions are so specific and so nuanced that I think the answers are better, the questions are better answered in a one-on-one with any of our WestPath staff. The tagline, or the missions, the tagline of WestPath is serving those who serve. And so we are caring for those who serve, I believe. And so thank you for doing that work and doing that well. Can we give our appreciation to Andy? Speaking of pensions, we have our local annual conference, Board of Pensions and Health Benefits. So their chair is outgoing chair, I believe, Reverend Joe Whitley.
How you doing? Yeah. Little tired? Long day? I don't remember losing the bet. I don't know what I did to so grossly offend Rosalie Johnson, who makes the schedule for this. I don't remember what egregious sin I committed, oh Lord, but every single year, the Board of Pensions and Health report is at the end of a very, very long day. Hey, friends, I'm Joe Whitley. It's my great privilege to pastor Asbury United Methodist here in Albuquerque. It is my 15 years on this Board of Pensions and Health Committee, 12 years as its chair, and this is my final report to y'all. And, at Asbury, whenever the gospel is read, we rise for it in honor of it. And what does gospel mean? That's right, good news. Now, I'm not going to ask you to stand, but I'm telling you, I'm bringing you good news, great news. God has richly blessed our conference, truly, truly. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. Good afternoon, bishops, members of the cabinet, all of you, my brothers and sisters in Christ. The report of the New Mexico Conference Board of Pensions and Health Benefits begins on page 26 of the pre-conference journal. The resolution relating to rental housing allowances, which I'll put forward in a moment, is found on pages 82 and 83 of the journal. There are a few important items in the report that I want to highlight for you. Board of Pensions and Health recognizes the financial challenges facing all of our churches. And to help by providing direct relief and support to your faith communities, 1 month each financial quarter of this year, all churches are again being granted a holiday from the health insurance premiums that you would otherwise have to pay. This means that your church's premiums for the months of March has been paid, and the premiums for June and September and December will be paid from the board's assets. Thanks be to God.
That is gospel.
Yeah. Preach. Healthcare costs for our clergy, their families, participating lay employees continue to rise with inflation. That's a fact. But our providers offer a number of plans for health, for vision, for dental that provide flexibility of choice to all of our plan participants to help you manage those costs. And details on all the plans are available through the Conference Benefits Office and also on the WestPath Benefits Access site. Now, it may not hit you, but we continue to support pension benefits for clergy that served before 1982 and surviving spouses. And each year we have the chance to give them a bump in those benefits. And again, I'm delighted to recommend to this annual conference, and you'll approve it if you approve our report, that the PSR, past service rate, is going to be increased to $774 for 2026. That represents an increase that we try to do every single year for those that served prior to 1982. Costs have risen, yes indeed. For Medicare, supplemental medical insurance costs, they've increased for our retired clergy. And to help them, the Board of Pensions and Health regularly discusses ways to offset this inflation. And these discussions reflect the board's continuing attempts to financially assist those who have faithfully cared for you and for your churches throughout the years. Now with you, we lift up and honor those clergy who are retiring. We had a wonderful lunch today. I pray that each of you will thank them when you see them for their years of service, because we do long-term planning, make decisions in accordance with those long-term plans. We make sure that risks are never disproportionately placed. We ensure that our clergy can retire with financial security, and I'm sure that you want that. You love your clergy. Texas Methodist Foundation and WestPath manage and steward the funds that relate to all retirement benefits for the New Mexico Conference, all the health benefits. For years, we've worked, we'll continue to work with them to ensure that we never fail in our fiduciary obligations to any clergy, their families, to widows, to widowers, or to participating lay employees. And as you know, Andy Sirocco was here. If you have questions that are specific, especially with a new plan coming in January 1st, those of you that administer benefits for your church, if you have any questions about that, please reach out to Anna Marshall, whom I'm going to lift up in a moment, or to Andy. Now, the board provides grants. They provide for unforeseen medical emergencies. They encourage wholeness. They encourage total well-being for both active and retired clergy, for their family members, for participating lay employees. I invite Cassandra Campos McDonald to share details about the incredible impacts of these grants.
Clergy, I need you to do something for me. Ready? Wave your hands in the air like you just don't care. Woo! All right. If you have not received one of these grants, you need to listen. And if you have, you might learn something, so pay attention. Laity, you're going to join in. Wave your hands in the air like you just don't care, lady. Oh, yeah. And you know why? Because when you're pastor, pastors, we always ask for help, right? So when they're looking like, oh, something's wrong, hey, pastor, have you taken advantage of those grants? Okay, so laity, I need you to listen to this too. So my name is Cassandra Campos McDonald. I am an ordained deacon serving as a hospice chaplain in Las Cruces with High Desert Hospice. And it's been my privilege since 2017 to be the treasurer for the Board of Pension and Health Benefits. And I was wondering why I ended up on this committee, because this is not my wheelhouse, but I got to do the fun part, the grants. And let me tell you about the first one. The medical grant, okay? The medical grant is for members of the New Mexico Annual Conference, active and retired, for clergy and their families, children up to age 26, where the insurance cuts off. That's the age that we use. For expenses that are not covered under your plan, like hearing aids, dental work, that is orthodontia, all of those things, ambulances, when you have all these unexpected things, okay? But here's one thing I want everybody in here to repeat after me. It does not cover this. Repeat after me. Not co-pays.
Not co-pays.
Say that one more time. Not co-pays.
Not co-pays.
Okay, that's the funny one there. So I wish we could. So just wanted to put that out there. Some people are hesitant to apply because of confidentiality. The Board of Pensions, the whole board does not see this. As the treasurer, I'm the chair of the committee and 2 other members. And if we ever need a 4th person to weigh in, it's the board chair. And we do not report, Joe McDonald went to a psychiatrist appointment, or something like that. We're not going to do that, okay? Nobody knows who's doing what. Sorry, honey, yes, anyway. Now, the thing is, you are eligible for up to $5,000 per calendar year. You can apply numerous times, but it's up to $5,000. And again, this is confidential. And the only other person, I apologize, that sees this is Anna, our conference benefits officer, she gets that to our committee. Okay, so it's not widely known. The second grant, the really fun one, the wellness grant. This is open to all clergy serving under full-time appointment or an assignment in the conference. It was developed to improve the physical, spiritual, emotional health and well-being of our clergy and their families, retired and active. Gym memberships, yoga classes, meditation workshops, mindfulness workshops, rest and renewal retreat expenses. So there is all kinds of things that this grant encompasses. would you, if you have had a wellness grant, would you raise your hand? Look around. See, there's a lot of people in here that can tell you more about it. Thank you so much. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but again, this is good stuff, okay? It's good stuff. Sometimes people use this for counseling, therapist appointments, and again, it's confidential, okay? Up to $5,000 per calendar year, okay? And you can apply several times. The only thing you need to remember about these, if you're approved, you only get reimbursed contingent on receipts, okay? Now, let's say Matt Bridges is like, I need a treadmill, okay, right? Okay, Matt needs a treadmill. And he's like, yeah, but that's kind of pricey. I need to see if they're going to pay me for it. Well, you can submit a grant contingent upon receipts and say, I really want to get this, but I need to see if it's approved. We approve it. Matt, send me your receipt. Okay, so that's just a little bit. If you have questions, come see me, okay? Also, I would like to point out one person, because when I came onto this committee, this gentleman was going off, and this was his brainchild, was the wellness grants. And he said, Cassandra, this is what we intended. Go do it. Okay. Laird, would you stand up? Thank you to Laird. And finally, the one that gives me goosebumps, the wholeness grants. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Wholeness grants? Okay, and if you're like, you need to listen, clergy. All right. This grant was designed, it's very new, it's only been around for 2 years, designed to help improve clergy mental and emotional health through improved financial security. This is annual, but you'll hear about this in the fall, okay, September, after Board of Pensions meets to make sure they can approve it. And it is for clergy under full-time appointment or assignment. For ordained clergy, it is a total of $2,400, and provisionals and licensed local clergy, $1,200. And yes, the form is as simple as it looks. Okay, it is just a simple form on the website. So for any of these forms, go to the conference website, put in wellness or medical, and it'll take you to our Board of Pensions where all of the grant forms are. I think oh no, here's the last thing. So Bishop, nobody knows this, not even Joe.
All right.
Since 2017, for medical, wellness, and the wholeness grants that started 2 years ago, we have written checks in the amount of $492,573.57. Thank you so much for participating.
God is good.
All the time.
All the time.
God is good.
Hey, amen. You see what I'm talking about? Thanks be to God indeed. Take time, read about all the benefits that have been described today. Visit the conference website, read our report, please. Again, I urge all of y'all to avail yourselves of this money. God has richly blessed. God is offering it to you. Please receive the gift by God's grace and God's blessings. I thank the members of the Board of Pensions and Health for their tireless work that profoundly impacts in so many positive ways the lives of our clergy, both active and retired, their families, the participating lay employees. I also lift up to you the excellent work of our conference benefits officer, Anna Marshall, of Melissa Thacker, who serves our local churches in a variety of ways to assist them with pension and health administration. And I lift up Griselda Sandoval, our conference treasurer, with whom we work closely, who does a terrific job on everyone's behalf. Ladies, please stand. You're in the back. Let us acknowledge your excellent work. I'm very grateful that we have such a wonderful representative of Westpath and Andy Soroka. Seriously, look out for Andy. Reach out to him. He'll be happy to help you. I also want to lift up each individual member of the board who might be here today. Not all of them are present, but if you'll please rise, let us acknowledge your presence and your work as well. Brad Bennett, who stood up first, he is the incoming chair. You'll be hearing from him next year. As for me, I'm out, as they say. And Bishop, as I mentioned before, the resolution relating to rental housing allowances for active, retired, or disabled clergy persons of the New Mexico Conference are found on pages 82 and 83 of the pre-conference journal. They're before this annual conference, and we move their adoption.
All right, this motion is before you. It doesn't need a second because it's coming from committee. Is there any discussion to this resolution? If not, all of you who would approve this, please raise a hand. Lower your hands. All who are against, same sign. Any abstentions? It's done. Thank you so much.
And just a final word before Cassandra leaves. She is going off the board, as she mentioned, continuing faithful service to our Lord. Christy Mills will be coming on. She'll be your new connection for the grant work, so just keep her name in mind, Christy Mills.
Go ahead, John.
Before Joe leaves, John Nash, first UMC Los Alamos, also chair of CFNA. It seems like I have served on CFNA for forever. Joe has served beyond my forever as on Board of Pensions and also as chair. Made our jobs on CFNA because we didn't have to worry about what they were doing or any financial issues over there. So we as a conference, I think, need to extend our gratitude to Joe's leadership for the past year.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. God bless you all. All credit to our good God who continues to provide. Bless
All
you
right. As they walk down and the next presenter comes up, we do need to approve this report because approving it will approve the additional, I caught that, right? the additional pension service pieces for our retired clergy. So all of you who would approve this report, would you please lift a hand? All right, lower your hands. All who are against, same sign. Any abstentions? It's done. Thank you so much. Friends, we are blessed. We in New Mexico are blessed to be part of the South Central jurisdiction. And we are blessed to have partners in that ministry with us. So we acknowledge one of our partners with us, Eddie.
Thank you, Bishop. Good afternoon. My name is Eddie Irwin, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Executive Director for the South Central jurisdiction. Most of my position is secretary with the jurisdictional conference that typically occurs every 4 years. But thanks to Ross, I received the promotion to general secretary, and have already ordered new business cards with the upgrade that I got just for showing up. So I appreciate that, Ross. Yeah. In addition to the jurisdictional conference, I also serve on the board of Lydia Patterson and the United Methodist Volunteers in Mission. And I report to the South Central Jurisdiction Mission Council, which our most favorite lay leader, Kathy Jewell, serves on as well. You can find my report on page 43 of the pre-conference journal. Growing up, when I came to the New Mexico area, I spent a lot of time backpacking in the Enchanted Circle. And so I like to think of each ministry that we have carrying an invisible backpack full of unfinished tasks. These things can weigh us down, especially the ones we feel like we should do, but know we probably won't make time for. There are two ways to lighten this load: finish the task or let it go, giving ourselves permission to stop worrying about things that we can't affect or we're never going to get to. Our very active and supportive Mission Council has spent time asking what's weighing down our ministry backpack that needs to be released. As we've been going through those backpacks and finding some of those ministries, we've focused on the ones that give us joy, that we lean into and live out into these ministries. In this new season of the United Methodist Church, we're starting to give ourselves permission to stop worrying about some things. We see this wonderful example here in New Mexico Conference, where you all have been living out God's love across time zones, across conference lines, and even our jurisdictional lines. One of the newer portions that the South Central jurisdiction is working on in our ministry backpack is our United Methodist Volunteers in Mission, the short-term mission agency of the UMC. The South Central jurisdiction is partnering with other jurisdictions and the National Board of UMVIM and collaborating with the General Board of Global Ministries, with our mission engagement partners, with the climate care teams and the United Methodist Committee on Relief, Nomads, and several others. One of the proud pieces that the South Central jurisdiction is now able to provide is both domestic and international insurance for any time you're on a mission. And mission falls into this larger category of making disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. And so that mission could be construction, it could be medical, it could be a youth trip that you're taking with our young people, and provides for the coverage and complete association within this new opportunity. Even the disaster response or education pieces, and whether it's around the corner or around the world, this insurance is able to cover us for a number of mission opportunities. I've got a handful of these flyers here. They're on the GBGM table in the display hall with a lot more information, and then they're also on the website at scjumc.org. We're connecting with several young people's events that include the Global Young People's Convocation in Dublin, Ireland in 2026, and the youth event in 2027, appropriately named Youth 2027. I'll be here tomorrow and would love to connect, love to chat, and sadly don't have any of my new business cards to share just yet.
All right.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for serving God and our United Methodist Church. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bishop, this concludes my report.
Thank you so much. Shall we show some love to our executive director? All right, friends, we've done good work. And we're going to round up this day. Well, we have the ordination service tonight, but we're going to round up our plenary time, our business time, with the story of one of our own ministries. So I'm going to turn to Reverend Tiffany Holmes for the McCurdy Ministries.
Greetings, Bishop Carlo, and all of you here, friends. We're from the Espanola Valley and from McCurdy Ministries. My name is Reverend Tiffany Holmes. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm really honored to be here. Just to kind of begin, if you are on the board of trustees for McCurdy Ministries, would you please stand? Would you all give them a hand? They're saints. If you have served at McCurdy Ministries, would you please stand? Or been there? Thank you all. I'm really honored to be the executive director at McCurdy Ministries, a historic United Methodist National Mission Institute. First of all, I want to thank you all for your prayers, for your generous donations for books and clothes and diapers, but most of all, I want to thank you for your prayers and your support. As you can see, McCurdy's story is our story. It's important because this story is about faithful hearts. In 1912, God called a United Evangelical Brethren deaconess named Melly Perkins to the beautiful valley we now call the Espanola Valley. And 113 years later, miraculously, I'm standing here and we are still dreaming and shining the light of Christ in that same valley. The McCurdy story is one of 100 years of being a mission school, then birthing a charter school, but it is also a story about something we all might resonate with. An aging ministry, an institution finding itself in new realities and challenges, crumbling infrastructure, decreasing financial resources, affected by disaffiliation, changes of missionaries, all kinds of things. And what we have always done or been is having to radically change, and at times being stripped away, and requiring, no, demanding that we fully rely on God. Does that sound familiar to any of you? This is our story, and it's an important story. And I know for me and for McCurdy, and I hope for you all, this story is a gift because it's an opportunity. McCurdy, our calling is to be a light in the valley, and it is called home for so many people in the area. Just a conversation the other day, the McCurdy campus is sacred space. And I arrived about a year and 9 months ago. I remember I walked around campus with the interim strategy committee, and we walked through all of the buildings, and I mean all of the buildings. I was speechless. Yesterday, I was looking back at photos that I took of some of these spaces, and at almost every corner, you could hear echoes, some of them faint, of a glorious ministry, of a mission school. But McCurdy Ministries, I came to realize, had a very, at times, scary future that we, as the board and as the community, had to discern. I cannot tell you how many times over the past almost 2 years I've prayed to God. I am absolutely clueless as to what to do next. And it's like I almost now can hear the sides of a smile forming as God nods and said to me, I do. Just watch and learn. Less than a month after I came as the executive director McCurdy, I was so excited to attend a planning commission meeting for the city of Espanola, where our master plan was going to be updated, or so I thought. It was to provide affordable housing for the community. It involved an infrastructure act with the federal grant for $20 million, which is important to remember. Federal grant. It involved tearing down old buildings on our historic campus to make way for new buildings that, if I was really honest, when I heard the price tag, I had to stop and breathe into a paper bag a couple times. The City Planning Commission was packed. Packed, I thought, with support, but became apparently obvious that it was packed with our neighbors who were very, 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 very angry. And I knew deep in my gut that this was a fight McCurdy most likely would not survive. There was a plan that had consumed so many people's lives and time, hard work for the community that for a multitude of reasons didn't want that plan. And there was no plan B. Yet all I heard and I knew that we must do, and the board knew, is that we had to stop and listen to the community. We leaned in to listen. That meant sitting through a lot of very, very, very angry meetings and a lot of yelling and people's faces that you did not think could possibly get that red. I worried about them. We leaned in to listen. I offered to volunteer at the charter school and asked how I could help, and they said they needed somebody in detention. Let's go. The grandparents group that had been meeting since these kids were kids, they asked if they could have a space on our campus. Sure. We began to be invited to increasingly angry meetings about our plan, but also what began to happen is that as we listened at meeting after meeting, what we were given the gift of hearing is who the community needed McCurdy Ministries to be. The community of Espanola and the Valley is historic. It's beautiful. It is a community that is descended from like almost an oasis of Spanish settlers that is surrounded by pueblos. It's a place of breathtaking beauty, deep faith, family, art, and water. Water is life there. But also it is a place that is true to its name. It's a valley. The valley that I grew to know is ground zero for decades of heroin and then meth and then opioids. The Walgreens in Espanola on the corner of Riverside prescribed more opiates than any pharmacy in the nation. And now fentanyl. The place is rural, but the people, it only took a few days for me at McCurdy to absolutely fall in love with the staff. The staff. Euphemia has been there for 35 years. She said to me, Tiffany, it's so quiet here on campus. But she had tears in her eyes when I pulled the staff together and asked them a simple question. What do you think? And she told me, I haven't been asked that question before. I told her, you are the expert. Manny, the maintenance director, who all I have to do to him and say, what if, and the next day it happens. He told me, Tiffany, you have to stop saying thank you. And I told him, you have to stop not being okay with me saying thank you. And the community. What I have found out about this community is that community began to form and miracles started to happen. Old buildings, and let me say there's lots of them. There's so many of them, I can't keep their numbers straight, nor can the insurance company keep their numbers straight. Lots of them each have their own unique challenge, so to say, personalities. We couldn't figure out what to do, but the master contractor, the master building person I've found had plans. The community seemed to be drawn to this special place. I would have people come to me, the Rio Arriba Health Council says, do you have space? I'm like, do we have space? Of course we do. Now, you might use the restroom and your body excrements might freeze, but you know, that's a whole nother thing. The Cole High School building had a meeting room, and so we just began opening the doors. There was a group of grandparents raising their grandkids that were meeting, and there's about 30 sets of grandparents with kids. They asked, could we meet here? I was like, absolutely. I also asked if I could volunteer to help with that group, and I soon began to really understand why some of them were so tired. As trust was earned, so many people came to me and asked, how can we help? And as I began to meet with these grandparents and get to know them, I remember one meeting where I asked them, after a great period of time of earning their trust, I said, what do you all need? And they said, we need clothes. We need clothes for our grandkids. We need toiletries that they would actually like. And I remembered, so I used to work at this place called St. John's United Methodist Church in Albuquerque, and right across the parking lot was this organization called Locker 505. And I just got this wild hair in my bonnet and called Kim Kirshen, the director, and shared with her what I shared with you. And she said, can I come out next week? And Locker 505 McCurdy was born. We went around to find a place, and we found this place called the Teacherage. That's the building on campus that's dedicated to Melanie Perkins. But we began welcoming kids to try on clothes. The United Way came to me then and said, do you have a place to meet? We're meeting someplace, but it's not really safe. And we walked around and I said, well, we have this old district superintendent's house, and there's a garage in there packed with all kinds of stuff. And they said, sure, we'll move in there. And they began cleaning and welcoming interns. And as I got to know people, I began to ask questions. That's kind of what I do best. I began to ask questions, and the one question that I asked is, what is it like to be a child in Espanola? When I arrived as asking that question, I learned that at that moment, October of 2023, there were no CYFD caseworkers in Rio Arriba County, right, reaching all the way to Chama. We were just coming off of COVID, which meant the place where kids that were in trouble or needed help would be seen in school. They hadn't been in school. The staff turnover at CYFD office in that area was 100%. The lack of access to resources, as I began to talk to the grandparents, there were few, if any, school counselors or nurses as I reached out to the schools. And as I began to talk to these grandparents, what I heard in their stories and from their kids was that there were 2 to 3 generations of young adults who were gone. They were either in prison, on the streets, or dead. In Espanola ISD, I learned that 67% of the kids were being raised by their grandparents, and that was a low number because that didn't take into account all the brothers and sisters raising their siblings and the neighbors stepping in. And what I found in that and what McCurdy found in that was a strong resiliency. When the state was not there, the community was there for one another. I also realized that these grandparents, hardly any of them had official custody of their children. I was approached by the state to apply for a $1 million grant to be a family resource center through the state. I shared with them, number one, I've never written a grant, so there's that. Number two, our campus, we don't have heat in our buildings. But I was encouraged to go ahead and write the grant. So I did. DG kind of sat with me as I stressed out. We were selected as one of 4 counties in New Mexico who met these criteria: lack of prenatal access to care, drug use or overdose, poverty, and child abuse and neglect rates. As the families began to pray, we were accepted as the pilot program for this grant, and we began to dream about what we could do. We began to meet families and people as they came into our building that didn't have heat, and we began to hear their stories. I wanted to share with you quickly one story. A mom, I'll call her Kay, and her 2 girls. I met them through the Grandparents Raising Grandkids group, and let's just say that I have never hit my head quite that hard on a concrete wall as I did interacting with her grandkids one time. I thought she was their grandmother until I began meeting with her, and she told me this story, that she heard about a friend through her family who was helping this family that had a young girl in her early teens who was meeting men that she met off of Facebook who would come down from Albuquerque to visit her at her house, and she became pregnant. And this woman just wanted to do something to help. She said she began going to the house and realized that it was a very happening place for drugs and prostitution. And she worried as the baby was born about who would feed this baby, so she snuck into the house at least 4 times a day to feed this baby until she was 2 years old. Then her sister was born, and this woman got a call from CYFD that the little girl's sister had been found in Albuquerque eating cat feces. And this woman became a mother of girls that she wasn't related to. I could tell you story after story of the miracles that have happened at McCurdy Ministries, the amazing staff and volunteers in mission that the General Board of Global Ministry sends, long-term volunteers who decide to stay here for 9 months of the year, United Methodist Women, United Women in Faith Group, and all of you, churches, life restored in the buildings. We got creative and scrappy. We would have a group come to us and say, "Can you?" And we would say, "We don't know how, but we will." And God did what he does best. He performed miracles. Brought us who and what we needed before we even knew we needed it. Literacy in the Valley, 27% of kids are reading at a grade level. There is lack of access to books. Lo and behold, there was this retired woman from Project Transformation in Rio, Texas, who retired in the area, and I began talking with her, and now we have a ministry called Leer, which is to read in Spanish. It's a children's literacy program, a place for kids to fall in love with books and reading and to enter the enchanted forest of reading. Each of them have reading buddies this week for camp. There's little libraries popping up around campus. We listen, and the clothing pantry, lovingly birthed by the New Mexico Endowment Committee, Texas Methodist Foundation, with Locker 505, I was calling the families to get referrals, and I'll never forget, I called this mom from OK Wingate, and she said, I have a daughter, she's 4, I need to start her in preschool, but she doesn't have clothes. And that kind of began the lighthouse, is that we realized at McCurdy that we wanted to serve the whole family. Locker 505 is incredible and serves kids K through 12, but there was no way we could say no to this 4-year-old daughter. The community and you have poured out love. I simply have to put a post out on Facebook and our room of donations overflows. As we continue to listen through the FRC, we now have a bi-monthly disability support group, and things continue to come to us. I'll have people come to me and say, do you have space for CASA, court-appointed advocates? Now they have a casita. The grandparents raising grandkids, they have a casita to support grandparents. The United Way now has a youth leadership casita. Spaces that we weren't using that now have a new life. I had even people come to me and say, would you want like a food pantry for kids? Yes. Would you want a diaper bank? We need a regional diaper bank. Absolutely. I even got a call from the state saying, Tiffany, would you have space for a few cribettes? And I got a call from Manny, our maintenance director, and said, Tiffany, there's 2 semi-trucks at McCurdy Ministries with 50 pallets of cribettes, and now we have 2,000 cribettes and safe sleep sets. I could tell you story after story. Just even last week, I had a man come to me. He's an alumni of McCurdy. He's on a men's basketball league and asked, do you have a place that we could play basketball? Sure. What's the fee? I was like, you know what, could you just make a donation? And he said, I'm a roofer. Do you have roofs that need to be fixed? The shift, I think, began when we lived into the belief that all we have is given to us by God. Why? To bless others. I'll never forget a meeting where we were talking about what we would do, what are our plans, and I had this thought. If we don't exist to love and bless the community, I dare ask why we exist at all. And do we deserve to exist? I say this to you because this is our story. Something radical happens when you move from scarcity to abundance and realize that everything you have been given is a gift from God. He is able to do immeasurably more than you can ever imagine. We hired a new staff at the Lighthouse. She's a McCurdy alumni. And she shared with me that she was one of the girls that was in the advertising for Project Carino for about the last 20 years. She received counseling and had a big buddy. She was working in the Lighthouse a couple weeks ago, ready to welcome volunteers, and when they walked in, she goes, Allison Terry? Remember me? I was at the after school, and you both came in many years ago. I always wondered where you went. McCurdy is a place where we have hope. It is a place of redemption, of blessing, of abundance, of hospitality, hope, and love. This is our story. And I am so honored to see life springing up like the hollyhocks that are all over our campus. God is calling people to McCurdy, transforming the lives of the staff, the families, the kids, the community. And this is only something God could do. And McCurdy could not do this without you all. The UMC, the love, the community, the blessings overflow. And we honestly have to get creative at McCurdy with what do we do with all of the blessings. I know I have seen the light of Christ in the valley. And it is so important that we never, never, never give up. That there is always something that God can do. the light in the valley. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. I invite you to watch and pray and enjoy this video.
If you made me like the grass that is green, growing tall and covering the hills above me, then maybe I would pray for sunshine and a little rain, and now and then to make you lovely. I could be a place wherever she